Okay guys, welcome back to the channel, and I was about to open up with a gigantic war, but I don't want to scare you, because, well, I'm a big scary person. So, massive news, the new Orruck Warclans book is available for pre-order now, and Games Workshop were very kind in sending us this to review. After playing a game with Ian, and after reading the Ironjawz stuff myself, what I will say is I don't think it's better or worse. I think until we learn the combos and stuff, it's a change, let's say. I do like the fact that they are still two separate armies. They're just both in the same book. And if you do want to combine them into a Grand Alliance Orc, let's say, then you do have the availability to be able to do that. So there is some quite nasty combos, I think, that's going to come out of this book that we're going to see. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a little bit more orcs, particularly savage orcs, and a couple of Ironjawz players surface on the tournament scene. Certainly to try things out and see where they get. Now, I don't agree or disagree with the fact that they're putting both together. I just like the fact they've acknowledged both armies and give them new rules. So, as far as I'm concerned, that is a win. I do love this cover, mind. All of the covers have been very cool recently. A lot sort of grim-darker as opposed to the earlier battle tomes that were really colourful, trying to entice people in. I mean, look at that. Yeah, and the Bone Splitters one's very similar. I don't have the old Bone Splitters one. So, what I'm going to go through is I'll certainly compare the Ironjawz to what's changed. The Savage Orcs, I'm not as sure as what they were previously. Only what Ian and I covered in the game. So I will mention those as we go through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight in and go straight to the back, and you guys want to see points, don't you? So, Savage Orcs, 10, 120 points for 10, maximum of 30 for 300. They are battle line. Maniac Weird Knob, 120. Orruck Megaboss, 150. Orruck Warchanter, 110. Weird Knob Shaman, 110. A Savage Big Boss, 100. A Wardock is 80. A Wergog Prophet is 160. Gorac is 540, sorry. Megaboss or Maw Crusher is 460. And then Iron Skull's Boys is 80. Ard Boys, they are now in a unit of 5. I don't know if that's good or bad. I mean, it's handy. It's definitely handy. But they were 180 for 10 in the General's Handbook, so I think that's you know, I think it's not bad. It's not bad. They did change a lot. Orruck Brutes, 140. Gorgrunters, 160. I think they went up. I think they were 140 before. Big Stabbers are now 100 points. Boy Maniacs are 140. Wow, they are battle line. I've just realised that. There's a couple of good combos with them, which I'll actually cover off in a few moments. Savage Boar Boys, 130. Savage Orruck Arrow Boys, 120. And More Boys, 120. And then the War Scroll Battalions. Now, the battalions have all changed entirely. So, the points are here. Artfist, 120. Big Rook, 80. Brawl 140, Brutal Rook 140, Brute Fist 120, Gore Fist 130, Iron Fist 160, Cop Rook is 140, Cunning Rook's 140, Snagger Rook's 120, Teeth Rook is 140, and the Weird Fist is 140. Bone Splitters can ally with Ironjawz and Gloomspite. Ironjawz can ally with Bone Splitters and Gloomspite. The Big War can ally with Gloomspite. So, if you know, there is the availability to take bits and pieces from other stuff. So I'm going to quickly cover the what's it called, the warbands essentially first. So for the Ironjawz, you can take the Iron Suns or Blood Tooths as standard, just like you could any sort of Stormcast Chamber or anything like that. You just basically get to take that now instead, which is really good. The fact that you don't have to pay points for it. The Iron Suns is still very similar, so subtract 1 from hit rolls in the first turn, and your command ability, pick 1 unit that is within 12 of a hero, and you can attempt to charge. That's pretty cool. Command trait, you receive 1 additional command point, and the artifact worsen the rend characteristics that target the bearer by 1. So that's okay. Bloodtooths, add 1 to run and charge rolls for Bloodtooth units. So essentially, you do get your standard Ironjawz allegiance abilities as well. So that actually gives you +2 in total. The command ability, you can make a normal move, but you cannot run or retreat. That fought in the combat phase. Command trait, if there's any baleful realm gates, you can add 2 to the dice rolls when determining the war. It's okay. Once per battle, the bearer can cast a Great Green Hand of Gorac spell from the Lore of the Weird. If they do so, the spell is automatically cast and cannot be unbound. It does not say that it has to be on a weird knob. And then you've got that Choppers. You can reroll charge rolls for chopper units that are within 12 inches of a terrain feature that is fully or partially in an enemy territory. It's within, not wholly within, so it's kind of handy. The command ability, you can use this command ability when the War Chanter's Violent Fury ability goes off. If you do so, you can pick up to 3 different friendly chopper brutes or Ardboys instead of 1 Ironjawz unit. So that's not bad. It just means that you can't use it on a Megaboss and Gore Grunters if you do it that way. To be honest, I think that's okay. Especially because the War Chanter's ability has changed. Command trait, add 2 to the Bravery for choppers whilst the Holy within 18 the General. That's okay. And the bearer is treated as having the Megaboss keyword for the purposes of the Ironjawz War command ability. So very, very handy. The allegiance abilities, which we'll cover now for the Ironjawz, pretty much the same. So eager for battle, add 1 to charge rolls. Mad as hell. At the end of any phase, if wounds or mortal wounds have been inflicted in that phase on an Ironjawz unit that is more than 9 inches from an enemy model, from an enemy unit, you can move D6 inches. That in itself is going to be massive because you can green puke on yourself to get a free movement in your hero phase. So that is going to be pretty decent. Smashing and bashing, it's the same as it ever was. And Mighty Destroyers is the same as what it was in the General's Handbook. So you can basically fight again, or you can choose to move for a command point. And then you've got the Ironjawz War. You can use this command ability once per battle. At the start of the combat phase, if you have an Ironjawz army and your general is a Megaboss, and on the battlefield, if you do so, roll a dice and add the number of friendly Ironjawz units wholly within 18 of your general. If the roll is up to 11, until the end of that phase, add 1 to the attack characteristics of all friendly Ironjawz units wholly within 18 of your general. If the roll is a 12 or more, then you can add 2. So it is different to what it was. I don't think I like it quite as much. So the Warlord Traits, these are quite similar to what was in the General's Handbook. So there's not massive amount of changes, but some of them are quite nice. Hulking Musclebound Brute. Pick 1 enemy unit within an inch of the general. And on 2+, they do D3 mortal wounds. That's okay. You can add 1 to the save rolls if you take Ironclad. You can use Inspiring Presence without spending a command point. You can use Mighty Destroyer without spending a command point. You know, there's a few useful things, but I don't think any of them like really stand out other than Ironclad. Champions of the Weird, though, receive D3 extra command points at the start of your first battle round. That's handy. Add 1 to casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls. That's decent. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yeah, let's get Foot of Gorac. Nope. Sorry. Foot of Gorac is gone. Bursting with power. This general knows 1 extra spell and can attempt to cast an extra spell. So that's okay. If you go in like Weird Fist way. Armor of Gorac. If an unmodified save roll for an attack made by a melee weapon against the target is a 6, the bearer suffers 1 mortal wound. Destroyer. Once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can add 3 to the damage characteristics of that weapon until the end of that phase. That's pretty good. Derby Mork is basically ignore wounds on a 6. The Golden Tooth, don't take battle shocks within 12. Metal Ripper's Claw, pick one of the bearer's melee weapons, change the rend characteristic to -3 before applying any other modifiers to that weapon's rend characteristic. And add 1 to Ironjawz Bravery whilst within 18 of the bearer. Subtract 1 from enemy units whilst within 12. It's okay. Weird Knob Trinkets. This is for a Weird Knob Shaman. At the start of your hero phase, roll a dice and on a 4+, receive 1 extra command point. So you can, if you're running Bloodtooth, you get 1 extra. Then you can get another one for that. Then you can get an extra D3 for that. So straight away you could potentially start on like 5 or 6 command points if you go down that route. The Amberborn Horde, add 1 to the attack characteristic of melee weapon used by the bearer and add 1 to the save. Well, you're never going to use that. Shamanic Skullcape, add 1 to casting rolls for the bearer. In addition, if an enemy wizard is slain by wounds inflicted by attacks made by the bearer, you can pick 1 spell known by the slain wizard, and then you know it for the rest of the battle. So that's pretty handy. Again, you know, you can build a decent wizard. We've got Mount Traits. How good is that? Add 1 to the Warlord's wound characteristic, add 2 to the movement. That is actually quite handy for more crushers to move a little bit further. However, add 1 to the damage characteristic of the Mighty Fist and Tail, add 1 to the destructive bulk rolls. Destructive bulk has changed. Loudon, once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you can unleash a Mighty Roar. If it does so, at the end of the phase, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy models within 3. It's okay, but it's once per game. Weirden, you can ignore spells on a 4+. The War Chanter Warbeats. So these are basically like Corn Prayers or the Fire Slate invocations. So at the start of the charge phase, one model that knows this Warbeat can use it. If you do so, roll a dice. On a 4+, pick 1 friendly Ironjawz unit that is wholly within 12 of the War Chanter. In that phase, you can attempt to charge that unit if it is within 18 of an enemy instead of 12, and you roll 3d6. Well, to be honest, I would probably do that anyway, because if you've got a big unit of hard boys, if you're rolling 3d6 to charge, you can charge a lot further round, wrap the unit up a lot more, and of course get more attacks in as well. Fix and Beat. In your hero phase, pick 1 model that knows a Warbeat. Pick a friendly model within 12 of the War Chanter and roll a dice, and on a 4+, you can heal up to D3 wounds. Each Warbeat can only be attempted once per turn, so if you've got 2, you know, you might want to take a different one, but to be honest, Getting Beat is my favourite. You've then got Killer Beat. At the start of the combat phase, 1 model that knows this can attempt to use it. Pick 1 enemy unit within 12 of the War Chanter. That's risky. And roll a dice. On a 4+, add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by melee weapons that target that unit. So it's a little bit like what his old one was, but you've got to pick the enemy unit, and then you only get +1 to hit against that. So the Ironjawz spell laws. We've got Brainbuster. Casting value of 5. Pick an enemy unit within 16 and roll 2d6. If the roll is greater than the unit's bravery, then the unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. If not, then it suffers D3. That's brilliant, but there's probably other spells that you want to do. Mighty Headbutt, casting value of 5, pick an enemy hero within 16. The hero suffers D3 mortal wounds. If the hero is a wizard, it suffers D6 mortal wounds instead. So that is very, very handy if you're building a Weird Knob general with the command trait and the artifact. The Blazing Eyes has a casting value of 6. If successfully cast, pick a point on the battlefield within 4d6 of the caster that is visible and draw an imaginary line between that point and the closest point of the caster's base. Roll a dice for each enemy model passed across by this line, and on a 4+, that model's unit suffers a mortal wound. So it's, you know, it's a decent horde killer for casting value of 6. The Great Big Green Hand of Gorac. Casting value 7. Pick an enemy unit. Pick an Ironjawz unit within 24 from the enemy unit. Remove it and set it up again 9 inches away from enemy models. So that's handy. Basham Lads has a casting value of 8. If it's successfully cast until your next hero phase, you can add 1 to wound rolls for attacks made by friendly Ironjawz units whilst they are wholly within 16 of the caster. So that is pretty good. Wrath of Gorac, casting value of 8. If successfully cast, pick an enemy unit within 16. Roll 2 dice for each friendly Ironjawz unit with 2 or more models that is wholly within 16 of the caster, and for each 2+, you can inflict 1 mortal wound on the enemy. That's pretty good. Pick 1 enemy unit within 16 of the caster and visible, and then roll 2 dice for each friendly Ironjawz unit. Right, so it's each unit with 2 or more models, so you need multiple small units for that to work effectively. So that is the Ironjawz. We'll have a look at the War Scrolls for the Ironjawz now, because like I said, quite a bit of it has changed. We'll just skip over the Savage stuff for the Bone Splitter stuff for the moment, when I get there. So the battalions, you can take a Brawl, which is a Megaboss, a Warchanter, a Shaman, and then 3 to 5 of the battalions. It basically lets you use the Ironjawz War ability, and it doesn't count as having used it. It's not great. So the Artfist is basically on a 4+, you can get a new Orruck Ardboys unit, but it's only 10, and it's a command ability, I think. Yeah, it's a command ability. Kind of not great, but yeah. The Brute Fist, one of the brutes gets 5 wounds instead of 3. After a model from the unit in this battalion makes a charge move, you can pick 1 enemy unit within an inch of that model and roll a dice, and on a 4+, you suffer 1 mortal wound. If the model's unit has more than 1 model, roll to determine the mortal wound is inflicted each time a model from that unit completes its charge move, but do not allocate the mortal wounds until all of the models in the unit have been moved. So, you know, it's handy. You can basically batter people as you're charging with brutes. The Gorfist, you give 1 of them 7 wounds instead of 5. In your hero phase, each unit from this battalion that is wholly within 18 of the big boss from the same battalion at the start of that hero phase can make a normal move but cannot run. It's alright. Iron Fist, in each of your hero phases, the big boss from this battalion can use the Mighty Destroyer's command ability as if they were a Megaboss without spending a command point. That's not bad, it just means that you can only move 1 unit now instead of all of them. So that's not good. It's okay. And then the Weird Fist, from this, if there are a Weird Knob Shaman from this battalion that's wholly within 18 of 2 or more units from the same battalion that each have 10 or more models, it can use the Brutal Power ability to attempt to cast Green Puke twice, in addition to any other spells it can cast instead of only once. It's not great. It's not great. We'll have a look at the Bone Splitter stuff very soon. Gorac. Worden has been massively cleared up on Cunning and Smasher. Basically, if it's a hero that is not a wizard, for Smasher, it does D3 mortal wounds on a 4+ to wound. Cunning does it if it's a wizard. So it doesn't even have to be a hero. So they've clarified that up a lot. Destructive Bulk has changed. And I don't think for the better. I think it's worse. But there we go. So after the model makes a charge move, you can pick 1 enemy unit within an inch of the model and roll a number of dice equal to the massively destructive bulk value. And for each 5+, you do a mortal wound. But you do start with 9 dice instead of 8. Unfortunately, it then goes down. In addition, after this model makes a charge move, you can pick 1 terrain feature within an inch of this model and roll a number of dice equal... I've just read that out, haven't I? Oh no, that's in addition. If any of the dice are a 6, units no longer receive the cover modifier for their save rolls for being in cover. If the mortal wounds inflicted by the model's destructive bulk means that there's no enemy models left within range, you can attempt to make another charge move and do it again, much like you did before. The actual Maw Crusher itself just gets 1 profile now, which is Mighty Fists and Tail. It does make it a lot easier to be able to actually use it. rather than what I found with Ironjawz is that there was a lot of stuff to keep track of. Now, it's not as good because I mean, Big T's Mighty Fist previously you had 5 attacks, and you started by hitting on 2s, winning on 3s, -2, 3 damage. So they've kind of averaged it out because the teeth you got 3 attacks to start with, so that was total of 8. Yes, you do lose attacks as you go down, but they were hitting on 4s and -1, 1 damage. I want to say they've kind of evened it out. They've balanced it out so that it's basically just one profile now instead. And of course, he's still got strength from victory as well. The normal Megaboss, again, pretty much everything's stayed the same for destructive bulk as to what I've just mentioned. The Rip 2 Fist is a bit different, I think. So if the unmodified save roll for an attack that targets a model with a Rip 2 Fist is a 6, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all attacks have been resolved. So that was a relic, I think, that we read further back. Oh, that was another thing. The Inard Busting Bellow changed. So rather than 1 attack that did D6 damage, you've now got D6 attacks from the Megaboss and 6 from Gorac that each do 1 damage. I think that's better because you've actually got more chance to do damage. Even though you were hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s before, I think there's actually more potential to do damage with the Raw now. So, yeah. Of course, Gorac does get 9 destructive bulk and 9 attacks. This guy only gets 8. So, you know, I think Gorac is actually probably worth it over a More Crusher now for an extra 80 points. He does do a bit of work. And when you combine that with mount traits as well, I don't think they're actually too bad now. So the Orruck Megaboss, that was another thing as well I forgot to mention. So you don't get, like, there's not 4 profiles. Like, I'll just show you the old one. There's the old Megaboss profile for combat. That's 6 weapons. That's 3. That is much better to follow and easier to play. I think what they've tried to do is they've tried to average the damage out and balance it a little bit better. Some people would see it as a nerf, some people see it as a bonus. It's a new rule. Take it for what it is and have a go and see what you think of it overall. But yeah, the Orruck Megaboss. Unfortunately, he doesn't get the 2 separate lots of attacks and stuff that he used to because he had a Boss Chopper and a Rip 2 Fist previously. Now he doesn't. He's only got the Boss Chopper now. Still has strength from victory. He actually has a Rip 2 Fist, but he doesn't get to attack with it. He just has it there as an ability now. And then, of course, he's got the Go On Lads, Get Stuck In. Pick 1 friendly Ironjawz unit wholly within 12. And if you're attacking a monster, you can add 1 to hit rolls made by that unit. So it's not bad. It's not bad. The War command ability is not on his War Scroll because it is part of the Allegiance abilities. So the War Chanter. The War Chanter is a little bit different. He actually gets more attacks now, which is okay. Rhythm of Destruction though. If an unmodified hit roll is a 6, it can make 1 additional. It scores 2 hits instead of 1. There's a lot of that in this book. Any 6s to hit generally score 2, and a lot of the abilities do that as well. However, Violent Fury, which was Frenzy of Violence previously, in your hero phase you can pick 1 friendly Ironjawz unit wholly within 15 of this model. Add 1 to the damage inflicted by attacks made by melee weapons by that unit. A unit cannot benefit from this ability more than once. That becomes 3 damage. Yeah, you get the idea. And then, of course, he's got his Warbeat as well. You've then got the Weird Knob Shaman. He actually has flat 3 attacks now instead of D3. Other than that, the rest of his profile remains the same. Brutal Power. He basically gets to cast Green Pukes. Sorry, I'll read it still out again. If this model is wholly within 18 friendly Ironjawz unit with 10 or more models at the end of its hero phase, it can attempt to cast the Green Puke spell in addition to any other spells. So you can cast Green Puke twice, I think. But you can definitely cast that in addition to whatever other spell that you cast. So to be honest, that's not bad, because you could, hurt yourself to get the move up and then do it again. That's quite a little combo, and that gets 2 big blocks of Ironjawz or Brutes pushed forward. You've got the Green Puke, which is casting value of 6, pick a point 2d6 away, and every unit you cross over suffers d3 mortal wounds. Foot of Gorac is gone. I am very disappointed. It is what it is, unfortunately. So, Brutes. Brutes are very, very similar to what they used to be. I can't see many changes. I think the Boss Claw is gone. That's the only thing that I can see that's different. The D3 damages are now just 2 damage instead, which it's better. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks with when you target a unit with a wound characteristic of 4 or more wounds. One model in this unit can be your Brute Boss. Replace the Brute Boss weapon option with a Boss Chopper or a Boss Claw and Brute Smasher. Yeah. Or the Boss Claw and Brute Smasher is now 1 profile. That's the difference. You had 3 attacks between the 2 previously. You've now actually got 4 attacks. And it's a flat 2 damage. So I think that's actually better. Gore Grunters. I think I'm going to be changing the weapons on mine, because I've got Pig Iron Choppers. And I think this is a good debate. Let me know what your thoughts are down below, right? Pig Iron Choppers are 4 attacks. 3s, 3s, -1, 1. If you're running units at 3, why would you not take that? It makes the most sense, right? Jagged Gore Hackers are 2-inch reach. 3 attacks, 3s, 3s, -1, 1. Same profile, bigger reach, less attacks. And the tusks and hooves are the same, okay? However, roll a dice each time you make a charge, and on a 4+, the unit suffers a mortal wound. However, in addition, add 1 to hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by this unit's Jagged Gore Hackers and tusks and hooves if you made a charge move in this turn. Hitting and wounding on 2s with them Gore Hackers is much better than 1 extra attack hitting and wounding on 3s, I think. So I'm going to be changing the weapons that my Gore Grunters actually have. Ard Boys. Right. Ard Boys have changed a lot. So, how frustrating was it counting up how many guys had shields, how many had the big choppers, how many had 2 choppers. Forget all that, right? It's just everything is now amalgamated into 1. Okay? You've basically got 1 weapon profile. Ard Boy Choppers. Okay? Everyone has 2 attacks, so you're not getting the extra attack for running 2 one-handed ones anymore. However, they hit on 3s, the wound on 3s, and they're all at -1. That is going to be so much easier to roll the dice, right? It's going to speed up Ard Boys massively. However, add 2 to the attack characteristic of the leader. So he gets 4 attacks. 1 in every 5 models in this unit can be a drummer. Add 2 to the charge roll, so that's 3 because of the Ironjawz ability. Standard bearers. 1 in every 5 models can either carry a Gorkamorka banner or a Gorkamorka glyph bearer. So add 2 to the bravery characteristic of the unit while you've got the banner. That hasn't changed. What has changed is the other banner. It was the icon of Gorac previously. It's now the Gorkamorka glyph icon. Subtract 1 from bravery characteristics of enemy units while they are within 3 of the banner. That's not as good as us not running on a 6, but it might come into effect more. It could be good. 2 in every 5 models can carry a shield, rather than just picking and what have you. They get a 6-up ignore damage. That makes Ard Boys so much easier to play, you've got no idea. However, I just want to point out a combo that I've already seen, okay? So, you can make them move by green puking them, and then you could potentially ignore them if you take it on a shield. Then you can use Mighty Destroyer to move them again. So, well, Mighty Destroy them first, then Green Puke on them, and then they get to move. Use the War Chanter's ability to let them run charge 18 inches on 3d6, and use the War Chanter's ability to give them +1 damage. And with 3d6 charge, with 2d6 move, then your 4-inch move, and then wrap round with +3 to charge, I might add, so that's 3d6 +3, you could wrap something massively with this squad. And honestly, with 2 damage -1 rend on all of your attacks, I think they can do a lot of work now. I really do think they can do a lot of work. So that is most of the Ironjawz stuff. The rest of the Savage Orc stuff I will cover in a separate video. But I'm quite excited actually to play my Ironjawz again. I think the Gore Grunters are going to be pretty good with the Jagged Gore Hackers, and the Ard Boys are going to be very, very good. I've got another 20 or 30 Ard Boys to paint up, so I will be painting them up. Please come back, guys, and check out, of course, the rest of the review. I'll be doing the Savage Orcs, the Bone Splitters in a separate video. Please go and check that out if you're more interested in them. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.